Yukiyu here once again, bringing you a Dawn of War 3 1v1 match. This is the first replay, I think, that I've managed to get working, because for some reason a few of my replays did vanish into thin air. But we finally have replay functionality, so we're just gonna bring you a little match from the POV of both players, a Space Marine versus Eldar match. And what we have here is actually in the beginning stages of the game is a little bit slow since most people are just walking around camping, but it is notable to see what kind of camping strategy a player goes for. Many times you'll see players find one spot on the map they really like and then put all of their buildings, all of their things on that side of the map and sort of focus on that, but which is what we're seeing a little bit from the Space Marine. He is taking all of his units and things. And at the bottom point at the field, we will have a small skirmish in the middle. Bunch of Dire Avengers versus Tactical Marines. They do get hit by the grenade, and Dire Avengers do very well against Marines in range. The only way they can really fight Dire Avengers is if they run up to them and punch them in the face. Otherwise, it's not necessarily going to go too well for them. And what we have here is a forward base from the Space Marine, a classic maneuver. Plasma grenades to stop the building. 2 servitors here, and now the entire Space Marine army is here. And he's just gonna try and stop those Dire Avengers from killing his workers. The Dire Avengers trying very hard to put down these workers. Looks like they will manage to make him go away with the servitors. But their shields are starting to go down. Meanwhile, the Eldar player has capped the middle points. And he's building a listening post over at the top. So the Space Marine player is focusing a lot on this bottom node, which does have 3 points, 2 power nodes, and a wreck point, so it's actually very strong. So the Dire Avenger flank does result in a worker kill. The 2 workers are dead, and the Space Marines are taking quite a few losses even in these here engagement. Didn't look like he used. It looks like he put all of his chips in the I'm going to summon Assault Marines first basket, which is very common by Space Marine players to just go for Assault Marines first beyond anything else, since they tend to be very strong against newer players who do not know how to kite them. Plasma grenades are being used there to get the Assault Marines, the packs, out of the stealth tower. Finally, the Assault Marines come out, and this is going to be the cue for the Eldar player to run away. He does miss the first jump, and the problem with Assault Marines is that they can't actually do too much against Dire Avengers, especially when they are in fleet of foot, because they're just so fast they can kite the Space Marines forever, basically. So they managed to put down a few shields there, but they still haven't managed to cause too much damage. We have Dire Avengers over at the top, trying their best to kite these Assault Space Marines. So we have a lot of Assault Space Marine players using Assault Marines quite heavily. The Eldar is securing the rest of the map. He does go into stealth cover against the Assault Marines. That's not gonna be what Dire Avengers want. A mistake there, but he does get within fleet of foot range again, and is kiting as best as he can. But the pistols from the Assault Marines actually deal the same damage as scout bolters. So that is gonna be definitely very useful. We have a building teleportation, so the Dire Avengers can reinforce. Eldar can teleport their buildings like Space Marines, which makes Eldar pretty mobile. And this game is notable because you will see from the Eldar player that he will actually hold out on buying his elites, and he will simply just use regular units against the elites of the Space Marine player. So we'll just see how that works out. So it looks like the World Brigade is being overrun. The Guardians are starting to lose their shields. We have Banshees here, but we have drop pods coming in, and we do have the elites, so the Banshees are going to have a very hard time against all of this. The standard goes down, so the Eldar will have to retreat from this battle. It is a losing battle, and the Web Brigades will go down. Meanwhile, the Eldar has built a listening post up top and has built some generators, now going for a Soul Shrine, presumably for some upgrades. As you can see, the Dire Avengers got destroyed there. being jumped on those assault marines. Without the webway gate, the Eldar is having a very hard time kiting these assault marines, so he's gonna have to get another webway gate up as soon as he can. So the Space Marines are putting in a lot of pressure on this shield generator, you guys. And as you can see, the early game elites do give you a lot of power. And yeah, we have another generator going up there. So while the Space Marine and another losing goes, so the Eldar is trying to use the fact that the Space Marine player is very focused on bot to just take over the rest of the map. And it looks like this might be the strategy, to just take away, keep the focus of the Marine on the bottom, while slowly but surely the Eldar secures himself the rest of the map. It looks like the Space Marine has not even capped his top node. Looks like he's gonna do it now with his servitor. So he's a little bit late on that part. Once again, the Eldar putting a little bit of pressure here. Space Marine hasn't really built anything at that bottom, so he's on the point, but he hasn't been able to do much with it. And we have another web brigade coming in. That will make the fight drastically easier for the Eldar. It's actually very hard for Space Marines to fight Eldar in fleet of foot without their standard order orbital drop pods. But on the other hand, the faction mechanics for the Space Marines are very strong, so in that short period of time they will become nearly impossible to beat. Meanwhile, fleet of foot is constant buff, but not quite as powerful as a standard and orbital drop pod, because the orbital drop pods do spawn units with shields. Once again, a lot of pressure being put on the Eldar there. Almost in range of the turret. Eldar will have to move away his buildings before they get destroyed. Yeah, it looks like the Eldar is doing it. He is teleporting away all of his buildings. He does get to save his barracks. And the assault marines take tons of damage from the turret. And those assault Space Marines are very expensive units. You don't want them to lose models, because they will bleed you a lot. So Eldar once again just hiding the assault Space Marines. Just going in, dealing damage, and then getting out before too much happens. Banshees don't really want to take all this head on. The Eldar does avoid the grenade by the assault marine. That grenade does slow and makes the units take extra damage from the Death Watch Marines. But it looks like the Space Marine did take a lot of damage, so he's gonna come back here and he's just gonna chill out for a bit, reinforce his units. Meanwhile, the map does sort of belong to the Eldar player, who has managed to survive this constant onslaught on that shield generator, while slowly taking over the rest of the map. Looks like the Eldar will continue poking in here, and this is the part where the shield and hit and run mechanics of the Eldar do come in, because they can continue to poke in, deal a little bit of damage, and then leave, slowly causing bleed on the Space Marine. Maybe he can't push in without his standard, so he might actually be better served by attacking somewhere else on the map where there aren't any webway gates yet. Although now there will be at the top, presumably in case the Space Marine does decide to go top. Some Howling Banshees being sent in here to fight those tactical Marines off. And Banshees will do pretty well against them, if they can manage to hit them. And there they go. Banshees doing their work, but they did not scream. I'm not sure what the heck that's about. Finally, the Space Marine player does get the idea to attack this listening post. Looks like it will definitely go down. The Eldar can't really save it because he has to focus on kiting constantly instead of actually defending it, so he can't really defend that point. But he had no generators on it, so I guess it wasn't that big a deal. But once again, the jump was kind of dodged. More dire Avengers. Now their damage will start to be large enough to cause more model losses on those Assault Space Marines. And the Assault Space Marines, the problem with them is that they're just so expensive that eventually, if they don't work out, you don't get what you want. The losses and the bleeds and the requisition bleed will eventually just leave you poor as dirt with nothing to show for it. Looks like he's making a little bit of a mistake and forgetting about those units in the center. He will lose a squad. 3 dire Avengers versus all these Assault Marines. can only imagine he's having a hard time. Once again, jumping all over the place like an ape. Finally catches those Dire Avengers, so the Dire Avengers will have to kite as best as they can, because they can't really do melee against these Assault Marines. So once again, the Eldar manages to escape with only some damage to his shields, and this is the strength of Dire Avengers against melee units. As far as I can tell, Dire Avengers are incredibly strong against melee units, to the point where they basically can't do anything if the Eldar is in the Web Brigade. We also have some Dark Reapers that were left there for the sake of defending that shield generator. So very interesting little tactic. They're just leaving some Dark Reapers to keep the bubble shield up and make it harder for the Assault Space Marines to backstab the objective, which is also another very common tactic used in 1v1s. People massing Assault Marines will eventually get power swords and just destroy all the objectives while the opposing player is distracted elsewhere. We have some Banshee just camping the stealth cover, defending the top from any more potential attacks. Once again, just the other putting a little bit of pressure here. It looks to me like the strategy here is to simply keep the Marine occupied in his base, completely oblivious to all the things, all these shenanigans going on in the rest of the map. Meanwhile, we do have once again the other just moving around, checking everything, looking, see where the rest of his army will eventually go, but the Space Marine is very happy to just stay here and rebuild his army, just reinforcing his squads, not having much money in because he doesn't really have map control. So without map control, you really can't keep up this constant fighting. You will eventually run out of money. Once again, using this chapter standard, it doesn't look like that was a very good time to use it, because the other player is definitely not going to engage him in combat. We have another summon here. It's going to be another Assault Marines, or just more Assault Marines everywhere. But the other does have the advantage. There's a turret there, so they're going to have a hard time breaking all of this. We do have a Chaplain here, if he does. So we have 2 elites against no elites, but they're going to have a little bit of a hard time dealing with his Eldar armor because they have the advantage of the bubble shield. So if he pushes in, they are simply cut it to the turret, and at the same time, if he tries to shoot down the bubble shield, well, that's going to take a long time, and he will take losses while doing so. Meanwhile, the Eldar won't take any losses at all. We could try and run the Chaplain into melee, but the problem with that is, once again, Dire Avengers are just too fast to be caught by melee. So, as you can see there, they're just trading pistol shots with the Dire Avengers. Another jump that will whiff, and the other just turns around and then shoots his Marines in the back, just getting model kills for nothing. And that's a trade that's definitely going to be to the advantage of the Eldar. It looks like making this sort of all-in play, just going in for the objective, isn't really working out to the Space Marine's favor, and eventually it might culminate in the advantage for the Eldar. He doesn't even manage to have the entirety of the node with generators that he's controlled throughout the entirety of the match. Really looks like you need different units to deal with Dire Avengers. I would say perhaps some Heavy Bolter Devastators would actually be a little bit better, because they do tend to shred the Guardian shields. And meanwhile, while Pack sort of tank the front, you can use it, and he also actually has a doctrine for the Tactical Marines. So he might be better served using the Tactical Marines instead of massing Assault Space Marines. Although it is a very common Space Marine build, very common. So I guess you can't really be faulted for using it, since it's probably very effective in most situations. But it looks like in this one, the Dire Avenger with Fleet of Foot, it's just performing too well. It does get a few snipers, but against this many units, just one squad of snipers cannot do anything. And it looks like the Eldar will finally summon an elite, and it is the Wraith Lord, a vehicle walker. So presumably this will be the timing to attack into the middle and try to break all of that stuff. So you see the Wraith Lord right now. Let's see how exactly this is going to work. It was extremely slow, charges through everything, does get feet. It launches his Assault Marines against the fragile units in the back, which is a pretty smart idea. And while he can use the rest of his army to fight the Wraith Lord, and he's actually doing very well against the Wraith Lord, because Power Swords do deal anti-vehicle damage, they do deal true damage. And we did have a little bit of a hiccup there with the recording, but you know what? Sometimes that happens, so there's really not much to do about that. So they actually performed really well against the Wraith Lord. It didn't really do as much damage as I assumed the Eldar player really wanted. But now, he's just sitting up there, shelling everything. The Wraith Lord did deal some damage to the units, forcing the Assault Marines to go back and reinforce. As you can see, the Space Marine economy is not doing very well, and now the entire generator farm is getting bashed by the Dark Reapers and all the Dire Avengers. All this range unit spam. Those poor generators have really no recourse, and the Space Marine is not really doing anything to try and stop this. So I sincerely doubt, yeah, the Eldar is not going to stick around and fight the army. He does take what he wants, which is to destroy his enemy's economy. And we have the elites just recharging. They can heal by themselves without having to be repaired, even if they are vehicles. So that's a pretty good for vehicle elites. So the Space Marine player does appear to be finally moving out, trying to do something different. Since he has, for all intents and purposes, lost the bottom, perhaps he will take the middle now. We have a few Howling Banshees just secretly moving in, trying to attack this shield generator. The problem with shield generators is like that, when you don't know where the army is, the units can be caught from behind, which practically guarantees their death. So those plays can be kind of risky. And we have the other ones moving in. Looks like he's going to take out this forward base and take everything for himself. Meanwhile, the Space Marines are going to the top. Looks like there will be a trade here bottom, and the shield generator for the top. The Eldar looks like he's going into position to try and defend what he has at the top, while presumably the Space Marine army is trying to get into position to save the shield generator, but it doesn't look they might be able to. They have a few attacks coming in. Looks like the Space Marine has forgotten his trap lane. Pretty unfortunate for him. He will go down. So one elite does go down. We do have the Space Marine very busy chasing after those Howling Banshees. Looks like they were unable to get the bubble shield, and they are making a haphazard run into turrets. So I'm gonna go ahead and guess that those Banshees are dead and will never be seen again. Yes, they do die. So, but unfortunately, the Space Marine did not manage to even take what there was at the top. So now the Eldar is in a position to defend it. So those Banshees did die, but perhaps it was not in vain. Looks like those scouts will be taking some damage. We do have a whole army here. That cleave attack just dealt tons and tons of damage. It looks like the Wraith will be happy to fight the Assault Space Marines, while the other player kites thanks to Fleet of Foot. This is the problem with melee against range Eldar units. They do have so much speed that they can't really ever close in. A charge from the Wraith Lord going in, just dealing massive amounts of damage and knockback. We have Wraith Lord, whatever the heck they're called. We have Wraith Guard shots, and those deal anti-armor damage, but they also deal pretty decent damage against the infantry. Looks like the Eldar has been teching up. Meanwhile, the Space Marine player has been stuck in tier 1 for a while. So it's looking like this might be the beginning of the end for the Space Marine player. Looks like he finally ran out of steam. We have listening posts being built everywhere by the Eldar. The bottom also has been put with a turret, preventing the Space Marine from having access to his resources. So now, Space Marine is going to have to think very hard about what he wants to do. Because now the Eldar does have the entirety of the map as his resource. He has noted the middle, giving him more faster elite point regen. So eventually, he'll be able to get his final elite very quickly, and that's going to be very hard for the Space Marine player to put down. Yeah, he's going to walk in here, these soldiers are going to walk here, and they're going to be very disappointed to see that there's a listening post here to greet them. They're not going to be able to do much against that. So in these situations, when the opponent has been crushed, I would say that one of the best ways to solidify the victory is to forget the objectives and go straight for the economy. Just destroy the Space Marine or your opponent's economy so completely, so they can't actually even make an army to try and attempt the combat. So these are his generators gone. He can't really defend them, so he only has the two bottom requisition generators. we'll have an attempt here against the turret. Wraithlord attempting to tank everything for his units, trying to lead the turret to look away from his army, while the Dark Reapers and the Wraith Guard deal tons of damage since the turret does have heavy armor, and anti-armor piercing things is the way to kill them. You can actually kill them with blast cannons and shadow specters, provided you have a few units war meat shields. Gabriel Angelos is on the field. The Force Commander is here to punch some Xenos in the face, but will he be enough to fight this army? It's not looking particularly good, but we'll see what comes out of it. So this is the part where sometimes the game does drag on a bit, which is a bit of a flaw with the objective, since you sort of, the best way to win is to sort of sit back and make sure the opponent has absolutely no economy left while you have all of it. So it's probably going to be a few minutes of people just sitting around preparing. So I'm going to actually use that opportunity to tell my final impressions of Dawn of War 3. I might make a video that's entirely about those impressions, but just of a first glimpse of, I guess, of the impressions. The game is pretty fun. The campaign is trash. Like absolute trash tier, really bad tier. Its only use is that it introduces you to the multiplayer units. So unlike Dawn of War 2, it actually is a pretty good representation of multiplayer in a way. While the other Dawn of War games, single player didn't necessarily help you that much, especially in Dawn of War 2 and all of its expansions, where the single player is practically a completely different video game. The problem is that the campaign is complete garbage. It's not good at all. So this game is basically only for the multiplayer, and that is looking pretty divisive. A lot of people don't like it, which I can understand. I can sympathize with their point of view, which is that it loses too many things that were in the previous Dawn of Wars, made it stand out. But overall, I think the quality of the game is not that bad. It does have a few issues that are unforgivable, like you can't bind your hotkeys, there is no surrender button. You know, just stupid shit that has no purpose, no reason to actually be a thing. That's just flat out incompetence or laziness. I'm not exactly sure which. So that does kind of suck. But in general terms, I think the multiplayer is kind of fun. But it definitely needs a few patches and things to go into, and they definitely need to get working on the future expansions and the future factions. The Wraithlord does have an excellent ability that does block shots. So as you can see there, he is using it to make sure that the Space Marine army does basically nothing to either the Wraith Guard or the Wraith Blades or the Wraithlord. So during all this time, almost no damage was being done. So it's going to be a little bit difficult for them to come back in here, since they spent all that time fighting a fight where they did no damage. Lots of damage going into the bureaus, but they managed to pull back just in time to be saved, while the unfortunate rest of the army is left to die a horrible death by this never-ending attack. So the Marine at this point does not have any resources. So looks like this might be, and now the final elite for the Eldar comes out, and this might definitely be the end for the Space Marine player. Presumably the Eldar just waited so he could get to see his shiny Wraith Knight just destroy things. Which, to be fair, it does destroy things pretty well. I actually think this ranged one is probably better than the melee one, although the melee one, they do have different roles, since the melee one is more of a tank. This one is just the nuke, just destroys everything. Just jumping in, putting everything in the black hole, and then little big lasers that deal massive amounts of damage and destroy everything in their path. So it looks like the Space Marine player is at the end of his rope. Gabriel Angelos is being kited, completely unable to achieve much of anything. The other army simply just runs away whenever melee gets close. So unfortunately, Gabriel Angelos is not really making much of a difference here. Chaplain pulls down. Gabriel Angelos will probably follow soon, but it looks like there's really not much left but to watch all the explosions and all the death being doled out, as the cargo will be destroyed soonish, hopefully. And yeah, that is the end of the game. Just an example of a typical 1v1 in Dawn of War 3.